Finest in the best.
I heard her proposal with an open mind, but my dignity is not negotiable.
The chat started on a totally normal evening. Out of nowhere, she sent me a message with a pretty wild idea. She called it a gift. The gift? Opening our marriage? She wrote that it would free us from the boredom she felt creeping in, and that it would ultimately make our connection stronger. I was taken aback. I asked her what had suddenly made our commitment feel like a cage. Her reply came quickly. "Love shouldn't have rules," she said, followed by a playful emoji that didn't feel playful at all. A knot of unease tightened in my stomach, but I decided to stay calm instead of jumping to conclusions. I chose my words carefully. She explained that her coworkers were always talking about this kind of freedom, framing it as a sign of maturity and trust. I pushed back gently, asking if this freedom was about being more honest with each other, or if it was just permission to start hiding things. She told me I was overthinking it. Trust, she insisted, meant saying yes to this. I replied that trust also means protecting the life and the bond we've built together. She then said that I could see other people too, as if that simple sentence would magically fix everything. My next question was direct. Is there already someone else you have in mind? She completely sidestepped it. Labels just ruin the excitement, she texted back. The pause that followed, the silence between her message and my next one, felt louder and more revealing than any confession could have been. I told her I needed time to think before I could agree to something so huge. Her response was sharp, almost immediate. She said my hesitation proved I was insecure. That night, feeling lost and confused, I opened a private chat with my closest friend. I laid out the whole situation, explaining her proposal and how deeply uncomfortable it made me feel, trying to keep the drama out of it. His reply was simple but powerful. He wrote that a sudden demand for openness often hides a door that's already been closed somewhere else. His words stuck with me, echoing in my head long after I should have been asleep. By morning, I had a new plan. I decided to observe more and argue less. I sent her a message saying we could talk more about it after work. She agreed instantly, her reply sounding almost relieved. Throughout the day, she sent me cheerful, upbeat messages, but they all felt forced, like she was performing happiness for me. I replied politely, but with each text I was mentally noting the subtle shifts in her tone, the slight cracks in her cheerful facade. That evening, the truth finally came out. She confessed there was someone else, a coworker she felt a strong pull towards. She swore that nothing had happened yet, and that she wanted my blessing before it did. I thanked her for her honesty, even though it stung, and told her I needed some space to process everything and figure out how to respond. She immediately pushed back, arguing that any delay would kill the magic of the moment. I told her that moments requiring that much pressure rarely respect anyone's boundaries. After that, the conversation cooled significantly. Our messages became short, our words clipped. The warmth was gone. A few days later, she messaged me, buzzing with excitement. She felt so alive again, she said. I asked what had changed so suddenly. She admitted it. She had already crossed an emotional line with him. I pointed out that emotions don't just wander across lines by themselves, they're guided by intention. She accused me of trying to make her feel guilty. I replied that guilt usually shows up when the truth arrives late. Then she asked, "So, do you agree to the open marriage now?" I said no. I explained my reasons calmly and clearly. An open marriage wasn't going to fix our problems. It was just a way to avoid them. Her reaction was explosive. She said she refused to live a small life just to protect my comfort. I answered that protecting our trust isn't living small, it's the foundation of everything we had. That night, she stopped messaging me altogether. The silence felt heavy, intentional, not like she'd just fallen asleep. The next day, a mutual friend messaged me, casually asking if we were okay. That's when I realized the story was already being told, but I wasn't the one telling it. The narrative was moving without me. She returned that evening with a long, confident message. She declared that she had chosen freedom and that she expected me to get on board and catch up to her new vision for our lives. I replied that choices made without consent aren't choices at all. They're ultimatums. She laid it all on the line. I could either join her new vision or step aside. I thanked her for the clarity. It was the one thing I had been missing through all of this. I told her I would not share a marriage that needed an escape clause to function. Her anger and disbelief were palpable, even through text. She accused me of throwing everything we had built away, all because I was afraid. I replied that I wasn't throwing anything away. I was holding on to my self-respect. From there, the conversation turned sharp and defensive on both sides. We were just hurting each other. Eventually, the words ran out. The emotions simmered down and the hard facts took over. We started discussing the practical things, separating bank accounts, figuring out living arrangements. It was all surprisingly calm. She seemed stunned that I wasn't begging her to stay, that I wasn't fighting for her. I told her that real love doesn't negotiate with threats. She then asked if I was planning to get revenge on her. I replied simply that consequences don't need to be planned. They just happen. Days later, she messaged me again. Her tone was completely different. The confidence was gone. She said the coworker wasn't who she thought he was. He wasn't the fantasy she'd built up in her head. I listened to what she had to say, reading her words without offering comfort, but also without offering criticism. Then she asked the question I knew was coming: could we close the marriage again? I replied that doors you slam that hard rarely open quietly again. She said she felt used and misled by him. I told her that sometimes pain teaches us lessons that words never can. She asked if I still cared about her at all. I answered honestly that caring for someone does mean you have to return to a situation that causes you harm. Our chat slowed down after that, as the full weight of reality finally settled in for both of us. We finalized the last details of our separation without any hostility. For the first time, she apologized, and this time there were no excuses attached. I accepted her apology without reopening the discussion. The very last message was a simple goodbye. I archived the chat. I couldn't bring myself to delete it, but I didn't want to see it either. Weeks passed. My phone started to feel lighter in my hand. My friends noticed a change in me, a calm that had replaced the tension I'd been carrying for so long. The biggest lesson I learned through all of this is that refusing a bad deal isn't an act of revenge. It's an act of self-preservation. That idea of an open marriage, the one she called a gift, ended up closing a chapter of my life for good. The story didn't end with a dramatic victory or a triumphant win. It ended with something much better. It ended with peace. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know you're not alone. Sometimes the hardest goodbyes lead to the most peaceful hellos with yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.